Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me at 4 p.m. Sorry I wasn't able to do this morning. I try to do my best, schedule permitting. And here we are for 4 p.m. live, which is good. It's good that there's a live session in the afternoon. So take a moment. We're working with mantra and we're exploring. Let me grab a little water. One moment, please. We're exploring. It is an exploration. We're learning how to work with them. And each one is a little different. And it's the journey of mantra. So we're exploring. And we don't necessarily have to understand how to work with it. And we could certainly struggle with it. And we could certainly get frustrated. And we could certainly feel that nothing's happening. And we feel that it's not helping us shift sometimes. And that's part of the journey of it. And that's how we grow in our understanding. Like for hiking, can't be a good hiker unless you practice hiking. And you get a little lost, or you stumble here, or you're frustrated there. And then slowly you become an expert hiker, and you naturally know your sense of direction. You don't get lost. You have a sense of the way things are going to flow from a certain path to experience. So as we work with mantra, the importance is to engage. There may be days you don't feel like doing it. There are days that you really don't want to do it. And you don't. You feel it's like hitting a wall. The things that are in your life that you're trying to process, the mantra is just not helping you. And it feels a little claustrophobic, or very claustrophobic. And you're sort of there and it's like, ugh, and you're like, oh, I just can't deal with this. And sometimes there's wisdom in not dealing with it. Sometimes there's wisdom in trying to push through or doing a little bit. We're engaging an energy into our lives to try to help us in our lives, greater clarity, or even to move what's happening in our lives. We're working with divine energy, and we're putting out an energy that could affect the direction of how things go. To the intent and the blessing, and something could shift because we do our practice. I call it this sort of mystical aspect of this. I haven't touched too much on it. But that's certainly possible. It certainly happens. So we're working with the space we're in. We're always working in the space that we're in. whether we're conscious of it or not, whether we want to engage in it or not, whether we wish to identify what's going on or ignore it. So we always are where we are. And techniques to engaging where we are in our lives. And we use these as our aids. And it's not just us, not just psychology, not just where we are or whatever, but now we have these additional tools. We could engage with the energy of our situation, of how we perceive it, where we are emotionally, psychologically, and, as I've touched upon, actually engage with the actual situation itself. Not just by how we speak and act, but by the energy of our practice. Have it shift for the better, a healing, a breakthrough, a resolution, to bless someone, to bless ourselves, to bless a situation. Yes, to be very careful the intent you use this, because you're working with the names of God, and you don't want to blow back if you're really not doing it with a good intent. Yes, now, we work with our intent, and sometimes we're a little off, and we learn. Yes, so, it's all in context, but we should go with a good intent, an open heart of desire to learn, engage, improve, and increase the frequency and the vibration of what's around us. It's all about improvement and bettering and healing ourselves and bettering and healing what surrounds us. So it helps us in our path. There's something I've been working on presenting, and I'm not really going to present it now, but I wanted to touch upon it a little bit. And I have mentioned it a little bit in the past. So when we're working with a particular mantra, by now we're working with Shekinah Shalom, right? Has the sacred Hebrew word of Shekinah and of Shalom, and we've put it together into one mantra, which has two powerful words in it. Yes? So that's a mantra of a certain vibration, of a certain level. It's Shekinah Shalom. It's not Shekinah something else, and it's not something else replacing the Shekinah. So Shekinah Shalom has a certain vibration, has a certain effect, and we're working with that. The divine presence of wholeness can be described as the divine presence flowing as peace. Yes, we discussed that last week a little bit. But we don't forget there's the divine presence. There's the divine presence, and then there's God that's within the presence. The presence emanates from God. So in that sense, we do have a little bit of a hierarchy. Remember, I mentioned there are several times different levels to the names. So we can't forget the hierarchy above. That would be all the names of God. Yes? Shekinah is part of that. But you say Shekinah Shalom, a little different than saying Yahweh Shalom, El Shaddai Shalom, Emmanuel Shalom. Do you see the power of that? So there's a certain placement from that. So I encountered a situation where whatever it was, and I felt it affected me emotionally and stuff, something I heard. And so I said, you know, because I'm working with this mantra, so that's the mantra I go to. So I said, Shekinah Shalom, Shekinah Shalom. It kind of helped, Shekinah Shalom, but it wasn't hitting it. So I said, Yahweh Shalom. Boy, boom, boom. And then afterwards I went to Shekinah Shalom, and the Shekinah Shalom was in a whole different place. That sort of cutting of the Yahweh Shalom stopped whatever that was. And then the Shekinah Shalom suddenly was more than sufficient to continue. Oh, I could have continued with the Yahweh Shalom. And then I was like, well, of course, I was just like, well, I've got to explain this to my students. Because it is a thing, and we're working now really hands-on with mantra, which we have in the past, but not quite like this. Not with these detailed sort of practical things. There are names that cut through energy, just say bullshit, of obstacles that are strong, frames of mind that are strong, emotions that are strong that you wish to just oof. And certain ones help, but certain ones just cut through it. And that comes a little bit to the hierarchy. And why this one fits is because the Shekinah comes from Yahweh. So we've kind of drawn apart something that's more manifested in a way. The source is different, has a different vibration. Conceptually, the Shekinah comes from Yahweh, but you don't quite confuse the two in a way. We could say it is, but then it's the Shekinah. It's a different concept, different manifestation, of way of manifesting, different presence. Why? For me, Yahweh Shalom felt appropriate. Shaddai Shalom would have been overkill, at least for me. So it felt like, no, it didn't even come to my mind. So that's the understanding of mantra as you walk the path, as you explore it, as you come to an understanding. Why did one cut through and not the other? Why not both? Both could have been the same. It wasn't in this situation. What's the difference? Wow, it really had an effect. This is real. So these are the sort of things as we sort of move along. And it isn't easy. There is no magic bullet to all this. We can't feel like we're stuck in the mud. And we hope this could be the magic thing that sort of moves it forward quickly. And no, we're kind of still stuck in the mud. But hey, we're doing our practice and we're bringing God into it. We're using our spirituality, sort of our spiritual car, our religious car, to go through it. That means we've brought God along with us. We've brought our faith along with us. We've brought tools to uplift us. And that's the spiritual walk. But it doesn't mean you get through mud quickly, necessarily. It's probably faster. It might be better. But in hindsight, do you know for sure? Not necessarily. But you've deepened in your ability, and you've deepened and maybe also deepened in your faith and trust because you did feel you were held. You did feel it went faster. Or even if you didn't know or feel that it did anything else, but something shifted in you because you made space for the Shekinah, for God. It's no longer you in your car. You've bought God in your car. And you trust that the way it worked out or the way it's proceeding is the way is intended. This is a higher level realization, mind you, which hopefully we all get to. It was intended the way to be the way it is, the way it turned out. So we don't say God failed us because it didn't come out the way we wanted, or we come to an understanding, we put our practice, we put on our effort, and we just realize it came out the way it came out. And not to fault God, but that's just the way it came out. And we just trust that's the way it is, or the way it was meant to be. Doesn't mean we don't make our efforts not to end up there or to end up somewhere. We do. And we bring our practice and we bring our life skills, even ask friends for help, whatever it is. But because we don't get there or that family member does not survive, doesn't mean A, that we failed, or B, that God's let us down, or our practice has let us down. We don't have a magic crystal ball to know exactly how our practice helped the situation. It could have been a lot worse, or it could have gone a different way, but not in the best way. So or the end result is the best result. Because you don't know what the result would have been if that hadn't been the result. We don't really have the magic crystal ball. So we project on a situation a different ending or a different way of being, but that's not really fair because we don't have all the information to put it in the proper context. So we do our practice with a good heart, and at some point, one learns to just rest in the unfolding and allow things to unfold. And we bring in our 100%, we do our best, and then so it is. We can't do better than our best. And there's no judgment to God as to why this or why that or why this happened. So as we do our mantra, we say it, we do it, and we work with it. But it isn't necessarily with the expectation that it will necessarily get us to where we are. But what I will say it will help with the energy and the stuckness within us, our confusion, our stuck emotions or ways of thinking will help us expand and raise our frequency and vibration, that we're able to perceive things in a different way, that we won't even understand the way we perceived things or acted on things in the past, because we're no longer thinking in that way. We perceive mantra in a different way. We start wondering, why are we doing Shekinah Shalom as opposed to Yahweh Shalom? And why not just Yahweh? Why not just El Shaddai? Why not just do the Aleph? And why say any name at all? And that's part of, as we progress, our engagement with things shift. And as sometimes life gets heavy and things, whatever happen, and we're in a different vibrational space, we don't even remember the higher level teachings of a different frequency above, because we're not in that frequency anymore, or they don't make any sense, or they're not even relatable. They're not doable. The mantra is no longer, you're like, why? It just feels like it's a wall. And it used to be your main one. It's just very sort of interesting. Oh, you forget one completely. But it's okay where we are, and you find one that works, and you rediscover, you repave that road in a way, and you quickly come back to a different way of perceiving, a different way of engaging, where once you would have engaged this way, now you're engaging in a completely different way. Why? Because somehow you feel that's the right choice, versus before you did all your practices, you would have felt something else was the right way and not questioned it. So literally what practice does, I feel, it puts us on the vibration of God. And as I go through life and make my decisions, I personally would rather have them infused as best as I could in the vibration of God, have that in my thoughts, in my mind, in my body, in my heart, as I go through life and make the best decisions that I can. I feel there will be better results. And there will be a path that might be more fulfilling and hopefully a little happier. Because we've run in different vibrations. Different actions lead to different results. As our frequency increases, we're smarter, we're wiser, we're more patient. We've learned more understanding of ourselves as we walk our path. Also educates us about other people, because they're human beings with their issues, and we'll be able to understand situations differently. So it's sort of a area of exploration and understanding. Where I was the other day, I was saying, Shekinah Shalom, it's not working. Shekinah, it's not mustering the energy that I need. At that moment in that space, it didn't occur to me to say Yahweh Shalom. And suddenly I'm like, no, Yahweh Shalom. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget that? Well, when I was in that space, it wasn't there until suddenly it just came through from my practice. And I'm like, oh, boom, boom. I'm like, oh, you can't make this up. It just cleared it all up. And then you're like, oh, of course. Because sitting in the presence, in the open, pregnant space of the Aleph, wasn't possible where I was at. And so you're in the spinning whirlwind of energies, and you're doing the best you can. And along the path, I feel doing the best you can is having God with you. And the honor and the blessings of these mantras is we're literally able to tap into these energies and call upon them on the spot to help us. And that's what we're practicing. So, that being said, let us do a little practice, shall we? We're continuing with Shekinah Shalom. Let us not forget, it's the Yahweh to the Shekinah and the Shekinah to the Shalom. Yahweh gives presence to the Shekinah, and the Shekinah is grounded in the Shalom. Shekinah manifested as peace. That's the chain. Nothing in any of these names of God is removed from the chain, the sequence that comes from God downwards and through. Hence the blessing in all the names. If you have something else you're working with, then please work with that. So we'll do it maybe 15, 20 minutes. And so people get ready, and we'll start in about in a minute or two. Okay. I like the Shekinah Shalom because I find it very peaceful. It creates an open space. And sometimes it doesn't open and it still stays claustrophobic, and, that's challenging. But other times it creates an open, spacious space that's peaceful. And as you relax and open, you can feel the presence with a capital P. And often when we do mantra practice towards the end, I put up the Aleph, not only to indicate we're heading towards the end of our practice, and so people see that and act accordingly, but also to remind everyone behind every practice, behind everything we do, is God, the nature of God that's beyond sound and words, description, which is represented by the Aleph, that presence that's in everything, that's beyond knowing. And ultimately, in a way, that's what we're working towards, to be able to live centered in the presence. And so Shekinah Shalom has a very special place in that, because the Shekinah is the expression of God's energy and presence, and the Shalom is how it manifests here and grounds itself here. So it's really the open space where we can place ourselves to open to God and to release things that keep us from opening. And as we open, we connect. We're able to feel the presence, the Shekinah, and come to understand a different way of living, a different way of thinking, a different way of being. And maybe realize that's what we were always kind of looking for all along. And that in a way we've come home while still being here. So let's do a little practice. I'm not saying the Shema because sometimes with mantra practice, it's just good to hop in and work right with the energy where it's at. Not shift it with one thing, but to move straight in. Shekinah Shalom holds a lot of blessings, and you learn exactly what it does. So we're going to hop right in. Shekinah Shalom, Shekinah Shalom, Shekinah Shalom, Shekinah Shalom. Shalom, 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 Shalom. Slow, deep inhale through the nose. Slow exhale through the nose. Release, relax any tension. Do that as many times as you need. May the Shekinah bless us. And may its Shalom rest upon us forever. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you all on Wednesday. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.